Z made an update that overbuffed Hakari. There's more that his update did, of course, since there were a lot of modifications to front dashing, but none of those matter. The main impact of this update is how heavily Hakari was buffed. I'm going to summarize the update quickly, and then explain to you why CZ went way too far with his buffs on Hakari. Let's go. A search bar was added to the inventory. A bug where front dash was unblockable at high latency was fixed. Being stuck inside a domain was fixed. Hakari's moveset was buffed overall. This is the important one. There's higher end lag on Lapse Blue. Front dashing's hitbox was nerfed. Front dashing slows you down before you're punched so that you don't go behind your opponent. Short update overall, but that Hakari buff was really important. Before I talk about Hakari, I'll quickly analyze the other parts of this update too, since some of them are worth talking about. And then we'll talk about the gambler in the room, Hakari Kinji. Increasing the end lag on Lapse Blue when blocked is nice. Gojo is really strong, and Lapse Blue was a good move that could lead into Gojo's other moves, as well as being very spammable overall. Making the end lag on block higher discourages Gojos from spamming their moves without a second thought. It's a nerf to brain dead zoning, and I like it because I have a bias against zoners. The front dashing nerfs aren't all that significant. The hitbox got nerfed, but I don't really notice it. And the whole slowing down before the punch thing didn't really change much for my playthroughs either. It might be a good thing that I didn't notice anything though. Now we get to Hakari, and the main problem is that his combo damage is way too high. Here's an example. Now, before you go into the comment section and tell me, Noob Eternally, that combo requires your opponent to lose their ragdoll cancel. Well, here's a true combo that doesn't care about ragdoll cancels. That's pretty good damage, about half someone's health bar from using only 2 moves total. You don't even have to worry about ragdoll cancels either. Now, let's see how Yuji's doing. I mean, his whole gimmick is that he's got high damage combos that ignore ragdoll cancels, right? Man, they're really giving Yuji the canon treatment right now. Not only does he have to consume 3 moves in order to do that combo, compared to Hakari's 2, but that whole ignoring the ragdoll cancel thing, that is literally the justification for him having less HP than everyone else, all it gets him is about 5 or 10 more damage on his ragdoll cancel ignoring combo. That's not even taking into account how Hakari has a really strong neutral with his ranged moves. So yeah, if you don't care about ragdoll cancels, Hakari might not be a bad alternative to Yuji, because you get more health and a generally better neutral while still getting that crazy combo damage. He just outclasses Yuji in every single stat except for combos, and is barely different from Yuji in the combo category as well. What about Gojo though? Well, I'll admit it's kind of close, but at the same time, not. Gojo basically has no combos if his opponent can ragdoll cancel, so he loses out on damage there. If you do manage to get a ragdoll cancel, then yeah, you're able to do huge damage at the cost of all your moves. However, that damage is on par with Hakari's damage. Not immensely over it, just on par. What that means is that for Gojo to do any damage, he has to meet a conditional of taking his opponent's ragdoll cancel away from them and have all 4 moves. Hakari on the other hand, while he does need those exact same conditionals to get his highest damage combo, he doesn't need them to do at least decent damage. You can get about half someone's health while they still have ragdoll cancel, and pressure them without putting yourself at too much risk with reserve balls, since you'll be too far away for them to punish you. Unlike with Gojo, where his massive end lag will get him punished. So let's tally up the score now that I've explained everything to show you what I mean exactly. For combos that don't require your opponent to have wasted their ragdoll cancel, Yuji takes the win over Hakari, but only barely. Not only that, but Yuji uses one extra move in order to do that combo, which kind of negates that whole damage advantage. And he has less HP overall because of the ignoring of the ragdoll cancel that's supposed to be a special gimmick. So Hakari still wins in the end. As for Gojo, he's barely even a contender here. As for combos that only work when your opponent has no ragdoll cancel, Yuji doesn't change in the slightest. The first combo is still his most optimal one, so nothing much changes. For Hakari, his damage shoots up quite a bit. Way above Yuji, that's for sure. But let's see how he compares to Gojo. Unless I'm blind, Hakari has more damage than Gojo when you take into account ragdoll cancels, which is insanity, because needing ragdoll cancels is part of Gojo's gimmick. High damage, but you're weak to ragdoll cancels. However, not only is Hakari able to do great damage even without wasting a ragdoll cancel, but he's able to do more damage than Gojo when his opponent doesn't have one. He doesn't even have some weakness to balance that out, since his neutral is great, and his health is standard. It's just unfair, flat out. This video is definitely on the more ranty, complaining side compared to my normal video, but when it comes to stuff like this, it sort of deserves that. The main problem I have with Hakari having more damage than everyone else is that there isn't some gimmick to balance that out. Yuji ignores ragdoll cancels, but he's just kind of weak stat-wise. Meanwhile, Gojo is amazing stat-wise, but can't do anything against ragdoll cancels. Hakari can both ignore ragdoll cancels, has amazing stats, and has amazing neutral. Now, you could go and say his difficult awakening condition balances him out, but I disagree because his awakening being literally immortal balances that out. You're free to go in the comments and tell me I'm wrong if you have some reasoning of your own, but from what I've seen, Hakari just has really strong combos with no weaknesses to balance it out. For how to fix this, maybe a small damage nerf is in line, but you guys are the viewers, so leave comments if you have any ideas on how to balance out Hakari's damage, or if you think he even needs a nerf at all. Overall, this update is an example of how delicate balancing is, and how even the smallest mistake can screw everything up. I've known Z for a while, so I can almost guarantee that he was trying to balance Hakari and make him viable, instead of doing this with some malicious intent to make people pay for early access. He's not a scummy developer in the slightest, so this is definitely more of an oversight that happened during his balancing patches. The thought process was probably something like, Hakari has low damage numbers, so let's buff him up to have similar damage numbers to the other characters. With the problem being that there wasn't any accounting for the reasons why Yuji and Gojo have their respective high damage numbers in the first place. Now, I could be entirely wrong, or Z could make some update later on that invalidates this entire video. But again, from what I can see, Hakari does too much damage for how little weaknesses he has balancing him out. He's basically perfection, not balance-wise, but stat-wise. When Gojo and Yuji have their own Achilles heel, Hakari says how to that and shreds your health bar regardless of what's happened during the fight. That's all I have to say in this yap fest about one singular character in Jujutsu Shenanigans. If you agree with what I'm saying, feel free to say that in the comments and add whatever personal experiences you want to talk about. If you disagree, feel free to also say that in the comments and explain why you think Hakari's fine. As always, like and subscribe because it both helps me continue to make this content for everyone, and also because you get notified of this stuff. I'm Noob Eternally, and I'll see you next time in another video. Bye.